Okay, let's take a quick look into the energy market. Of course, the big story this morning is inflation. That data from the Bureau of Statistics. But first, let's look through this to wrap up the market, as it were. Look at the big seven. That was the sector down 1.3% yesterday. So you can see corn oil down by 5%. And that was the first time in about 2 weeks that this oil retailer, one of the big seven, lost some shares on less than 200,000 shares of transactions in just there. Forty Oil lost another 1.63%, less than 110,000 shares. Pt.1 PLC kept its share at 170 when the market finished off. MRS sitting unchanged at 33.66 per share. Then Owando fell again yesterday, and the volume a little much more higher than Wednesday, 4.98%, 3.8 million ordinary shares at 610 kobo. That's 610 kobo. Then Seplat unchanged at 480.79, and Total at 232.1. So we had about 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 declines and 3 unchanged in that sector, and that shows corn oil, Owando, and Forty Oil and Total dragging that sector to where it finished off on Thursday. But very quickly, inflation is king. This is going to be one of the major decision points or considerations and decision points for the Central Bank MPC meeting led by Godwin Emefiele next week. Let's remind you very quickly, if you're just waking up to this news, the Nigeria's Consumer Price Index, what you call inflation, declined slightly, 0.04% lower in the month of August at 16.01%. Headline index finished 0.24% lower from 1.21%. Food price inflation at 20.25% year-on-year in August, down marginally 0.03 percentage points. That was versus 20.28%. Then you had the food sub index at 1.14% in August. That's down 0.38%. Then you have the core sub index, which is the all items less farm produce. That ticked up by 0.10% from 12.20% to 12.30%. That's also there for you to put at the back of your mind. In general, that's the summary of the inflation data. Then you have the urban index in August was higher to 16.13% from 16.04% in July. That means inflation in cities and urban areas, Lagos, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Kano, the rest, Kaduna, and other big cities around Nigeria, that's much higher. But for the rural parts of the country, inflation was a little bit lower at 15.91% year-on-year from 16.08% in the month of July 2017. Within just that there. So you need to put this at the back of your mind. So the considerations for the MPC next week is going to be some of this inflation, the GDP, and every other thing in between, from the macroeconomic and the data that we've all been talking about for the last 2 weeks. Let's get a bit of a sense of how this will come together for the decisions that these gentlemen would decide on next week. Let's have some of this conversation starting from today. One of the key considerations is the manufacturing sector. The numbers look a little bit good, but you heard the analysts yesterday saying we're yet below water. And of course, you listened to NOI Pool CEO yesterday here on the program regarding the problems or the key challenges faced by manufacturers themselves. So the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria took some time yesterday at their annual meeting to speak to this. Let's take a listen to Frank Jacobs.
The forex policy of the 21st February 2017, which significantly narrowed the premium between the parallel market and the official market rates, and therefore made forex readily available to members. 3. The special 20 $1,000 quarterly forex allocation to SMEs for the importation of vital raw materials and machinery, bearing in mind that SMEs constitute 80% of the membership of NAM. 4, the launch of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. 5, the establishment of Presidential Enabling Business Environment, PEBEC. 6, the establishment of Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Clinic. 7, the adoption of the Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan, NIRP, and the inauguration of the Nigeria Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Advisory Council, whose composition is mostly drawn from the manufacturing sector. 8, the federal government executive orders on promotion of transparency and efficiency in the business environment, designed to facilitate the ease of doing business in the country. Support for local content in public procurement by the federal government, and timely submission of annual budgetary estimates by all statutory and non-statutory agencies, including companies owned by the federal government. 9, the lifting of ban on Export Expansion Grant, EEG, with very important modifications, such as the expanded use of the Negotiable Export Credit Certificate, NECC, the transferability of the NECC, as well as the intention to clear the outstanding debts with the use of promissory notes. And finally, number 11, the review of the 41 items, which when segmented into HS codes, became 68 HS code items,